book of Revelation, in the 13th chapter, we read of a global power called the Beast. And we read in the prophecy that all the world wondered after the beast. Furthermore, we read that this is a persecuting power, for it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. It is from prophecies like this that many, rightly so, point to the things happening in the world today as harbingers of these ancient prophecies nearing their fulfillment. In the words of the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown regarding coronavirus, he said this is not something that can be dealt with in one country. There has to be a coordinated global response. Of course, if you have a global problem, you need to have a global solution. Then there is seemingly cause for the implementation of global government. David Rockefeller said in 1994, "We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the new world order."
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Whether that global crisis is an alien threat, climate change, or a global pandemic, it matters not. The solution being urged is the same: global government. It's articles like this, where Gordon Brown calls for global government to tackle coronavirus, why many are connecting the dots themselves and realizing the zeal of politicians, bankers, and people of power to implement global regulations and seize more power over the population is leading in the direction Bible prophecy said that it would. Speaking of this beast power, the prophecy records all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. When it says the earth shall worship him, the central and underlying principle of worship is obedience, meaning all that dwell upon the earth shall obey him. We see this definition of worship employed in the Bible as well. Paul writes in Romans chapter 6, "Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness." And in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15 and verse 22, we read, "To obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams." Therefore, worship and obedience are one and the same, and this universal obedience is made possible by the enforcement of the mark of the beast. For the prophecy says, "No man might buy or sell save he that had the mark." By controlling the ability to buy and sell, the mark of the beast crisis will force all into one of two groups: those who obey the beast and those who don't. But the exercise of force is contrary to the principles of God's government. He desires only the service of love, and love cannot be commanded, it cannot be won by force or authority. Only by love is love awakened. Those who know Jesus' tender voice and compassionate love will discern that this compulsory obedience to the beast is the working of another spirit. The coronavirus pandemic has changed the world more in the last year than any amount of promotion or lobbying or policy changes could have done in a century. There is an old saying, you never want to let a good crisis go to waste.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
The COVID pandemic has been used as an excuse to undermine basic human and constitutional rights, and has in many instances bankrupted businesses, put families on the streets, and left those who still had their homes practically under house arrest.
Complete lockdown, effective immediately.
They are banned from leaving their homes.
Why have several politicians and experts said that we must learn to live with the virus now?
And any thought of a return to normal in the short term is totally unrealistic.
As the Washington Post noted, executive orders were coming fast and furious from governors' mansions around the nation.
Issuing 2 executive orders.
Executive order.
Do an executive order today.
Another executive order.
Signing an executive order.
Issuing a safer at home order.
Today I signed an executive order.
Getting executive orders on the governor's desk.
The rapid and sweeping unchecked legal changes on the backdrop of a global mass media fear campaign created a planet of 7 billion mask-wearing, social distancing hypochondriacs overnight. that are so afraid of each other that they won't even see family, give loved ones a hug, shake hands, or go to work.
Alarming news tonight about the coronavirus, devastating at every level.
It is no secret that a fearful population is easier to control, and this is because when a person or a population is in a state of fear, they are more likely to react instinctively than to think critically or reasonably. And when this state of fear gives sway to a mindset that seeks protection and safety at all costs, it will surely come at a very high cost, the cost of freedom. Benjamin Franklin said those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. A population that will give up freedoms in exchange for perceived safety will surely lose both.
Ben Franklin in his time could afford to be absolutist about not trading any liberty for safety, because in 1755, the worst weapon an enemy could bring against you was a cannon or a musket.
But some freedoms are going to have to be given up to make sure that unstable people don't have access to those weapons.
Lockdown restrictions are meant to protect the public, but they also, of course, limit personal freedoms and damage.
They can be an excuse to adopt repressive measures. And the COVID-19 emergency is fast becoming a human rights crisis.
We are led to believe these sweeping legal changes are for our good and to keep us safe. Even wrapped up with this idea is the new virtue that by obeying these laws, we are selflessly protecting our fellow man.
I care for you.
One of the most effectual deceptions to overthrow a nation is to outwardly seek its stability and promotion while secretly bending every effort to secure its overthrow. And this is how Lucifer was so successful in heaven. He is called in Ezekiel the covering cherub, and the word cover means to protect or defend, as his position was to cover the Ark of the Covenant, protecting and defending the covenant of the 10 Commandments within it. But this mighty angel rebelled against God, not by seeking to overthrow him, but by pretending to be like him. For we are told his intent was to be like the Most High. Lucifer was outwardly pretending to promote the stability of the government of God while secretly bending every effort to secure its overthrow. And this is the same method employed by the Antichrist at the end of time. He does not outwardly profess to be against Christ, but rather will profess to occupy his place. As we are told, he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And now Lucifer is employing these same methods amidst this pandemic. And when you understand what the mark of the beast is, you will be shocked to see how the enemy of souls has been using coronavirus to lay the groundwork for the enforcement of the mark of the beast. But before we see and appreciate this more fully, we first need to start by unmasking the mark.